Three astronauts are on a mission to Titan, but soon they start experiencing serious psychological problems. Trust me, the ending of this story will blow your mind. Astronaut John wakes up aboard the spaceship Odyssey 1. The ship is headed for Titan, Saturn's moon. The journey is long, so the crew has to go through several cycles of hibernation. They wake up roughly once every 3 months, then go back to sleep using special medication. John takes a shower and joins the other crew members, Captain Franks and an astronaut named Nash. They listen to messages from Earth, catch up on the latest news, and carry out routine equipment checks. John thinks about his beloved girlfriend, Zoe. He misses her terribly and is horrified to realize he has forgotten her last name. Nash reassures his friend, reminding him that the powerful drugs used for inducing hibernation have serious side effects. John finally remembers the day he met Zoe and recalls that her last name is Morgan. After finishing the system checks on the spacecraft, John reports back to Earth that they'll soon reach Titan. Now it's time to go back into hibernation for another 3 months of sleep. John dreams of Zoe again. They both worked in the field of space technology and were involved in preparations for the Titan mission, aimed at bringing large quantities of natural resources, especially methane, back to Earth. Another 3 months pass. In the new cycle, John is the first to wake up and decides to have lunch. After eating, he pedals on the exercise bike to keep his muscles in shape. Suddenly, the man hears Zoe's voice. It seems to be yet another side effect of hibernation. Without warning, the spaceship starts shaking, and a metal panel falls from the ceiling onto John. Soon, Captain Franks and Nash find him and help the astronaut regain consciousness. It seems that Odyssey 1 experienced some sort of impact that damaged the hull and several internal components. However, the ship's computers report neither any collision nor any kind of malfunction. John informs Mission Control about the serious problems and once again thinks of Zoe. It turns out that besides space, they shared many other interests. For example, computer games. We return to Odyssey 1. Captain Franks believes that nothing serious has happened and that the mission can continue as planned. Unlike him, Nash is extremely anxious. He's troubled by the fact that their spacecraft has sustained significant damage, while the system shows no signs of it at all. Nash fears that Odyssey 1 might not withstand the engine thrust during landing on Titan, which means they could all die if they proceed with the mission. As for John, the only thing on his mind is Zoe. He doesn't care at all about what's happening on board the ship. He recalls the first time he visited her apartment and how she immediately took off her sweater. Their romance started very quickly. Soon after, John learned he had been selected as one of the candidates for the Titan mission, and Zoe suggested keeping their relationship a secret from everyone else. Nash tries to convince John to stage a mutiny against Captain Franks. He suggests they secretly reprogram their hibernation capsules to wake up 12 hours earlier, change the spaceship's course, and head back to Earth. John agrees to break protocol, but insists that during the next wake-up cycle, he must personally make sure that Odyssey 1 is indeed seriously damaged. Another sleep phase begins, during which John, of course, dreams of Zoe once again. It turns out she was one of the people directly responsible for the success of this mission. John and Nash are the first to wake up from hibernation. They're now approaching Jupiter. Nash is nervous and urges John to change the ship's course as soon as possible before it's too late. But the main character refuses, since everything on the ship seems to be functioning normally. Suddenly, Captain Franks shows up. It turns out he had been spying on the crew and learned about their secret plan. He woke up early as well, just in time to stop them. John and Captain Franks look at Jupiter together, share a drink, and decide to continue with the mission. Nash starts to spiral into paranoia. He's convinced they mustn't go to Titan under any circumstances. The man is certain they won't be able to return home. Nevertheless, no one listens to him anymore. John has a terrifying nightmare. Due to hull damage, the ship decompresses, and he's sucked into the vacuum of open space. Despite his terrifying visions, John and Captain Franks execute a dangerous space maneuver. They use Jupiter's gravity to gain the necessary acceleration for landing on Titan. This maneuver is known as a gravitational slingshot. If they fail, they'll shoot off into deep space at incredible speed, with no way of returning. Fortunately, the protagonists accomplish the maneuver and approach Titan successfully. Captain Franks is thrilled and invites the crew to join him for a shot of moonshine. John begins experiencing new hallucinations. It's time to enter hibernation again. Needless to say, in his dreams, John sees Zoe once more. The fact that John would be flying to Titan made the woman deeply upset, as she had fallen in love with him. But for John, this mission was more important than his personal life. After another awakening, John feels terrible. The ghost of Zoe appears to him again, and he has a breakdown in front of Captain Franks. But it turns out, Nash is feeling even worse. He tells John that the reactor's output is dropping, and if it fails completely, they're all done for. What's more, the man admits that he's starting to forget the names of his own parents and key moments from his life. John and Nash realize their mental states are deteriorating, and they nearly come to blows, unable to control their emotions anymore. Captain Franks calls the astronauts to the bridge. He's also become aware of the reactor issue, but he believes it's not a technical failure, it's sabotage. The man reveals that the power was lowered using John's password. Captain Franks pulls out a gun. He suspects Nash used John's access code to force a course correction and take them back to Earth. Franks decides to place both astronauts into hibernation so they won't interfere with the mission. When John is about to fall asleep, he witnesses Captain Franks attacking Nash and apparently taking his life. The protagonist sees Zoe in his dreams and recalls their final days together before the mission to Titan. Another hibernation cycle passes. John wakes up, remembering everything that happened with Nash. His crewmate is nowhere to be found aboard the ship. Instead, Captain Franks is there, holding a gun. This man is willing to do anything to complete his mission. He insists that Nash is in hibernation and demands that John obey him. The protagonist has no choice but to promise to follow all the captain's orders. Unfortunately, he soon begins experiencing new hallucinations. The man believes that his body is mutating. After that, John once again hears Zoe's voice. He's troubled by the fact that they haven't made contact with Earth for such a long time. Captain Franks notices that John becomes mentally unstable and admits that John's relationship with Zoe was fake. The woman was used to test whether John was truly ready for such a demanding mission. She had deliberately approached him at the cafe and later showed up at lectures about Titan. Captain Franks knew about every one of their meetings and every conversation they ever had. John can't believe it. Could their entire romance have been a lie from start to finish? Desperate, John tries to contact Earth and even hears a voice from Mission Control. Captain Franks insists it's just another hallucination, all while keeping his gun firmly in hand. John is convinced that Captain Franks has gotten rid of Nash and demands that his commander show him the capsule where the second astronaut is supposed to be. Franks refuses, and a fight breaks out between the two men. John manages to knock the gun out of the captain's hands, lands several heavy punches, and grabs the weapon himself. Overcome by another wave of terrifying hallucinations, the protagonist knocks the captain out and rushes to the ship's computer to find out Nash's whereabouts and condition. The system confirms that Nash is alive and well, currently located on the command bridge, along with Franks and John. But that's impossible. John demands a list of all crew members. It turns out there's only one person aboard the ship, himself. John's full name is Captain John Franks Nash. The other crew members are just hallucinations that appeared after his first cycle of hibernation. John begins to lose his final grip on reality. He tries to contact Zoe and begs her for help. Suddenly, her voice echoes through the ship. The woman confesses that John is not actually flying to Titan. He's inside a spacecraft simulator located at their base in New Mexico. Before the real mission began, the scientists decided to test the effects of repeated hibernation cycles on the human mind. Soon after the beginning of the experiment, a powerful earthquake hit New Mexico. It damaged the access tunnel and severed communication lines with the simulator. John had been receiving dangerously high doses of hibernation medication, and the scientists were unable to correct it. As a result, his mind began to deteriorate. Zoe pleads with John to open the airlock and leave the simulator. At that moment, wounded Captain Franks shows up. He explains that John is having yet another hallucination. He needs to calm down, ignore the voices in his head, and complete his mission. John is forced to make a choice. He recalls the most important moments of his life and ultimately decides to trust Zoe and exit through the airlock. At first, it seems he's made the right decision and that he's about to step into an underground tunnel, not into open space. A red emergency light flickers as John climbs up a long ladder. Suddenly, He realizes he's made a fatal mistake, but it's too late. He's sucked out through the airlock straight into the vacuum of space.